Alrighty. So, from global news here, Canadians could potentially be detained while awaiting deportation if denied entry into the United States, the federal government warned. Canadians taking a trip across the U.S. border are being advised to cooperate and be forthcoming when speaking with authorities at the crossing, adding that they could face detention if denied entry. In a travel advisory update Friday, the federal government says Canadians should expect scrutiny when crossing ports of entry and to expect questioning and potential search of their electronic devices, complying and be forthcoming in all interactions with border authorities. The advisory reads, if you are denied entry, you could be detained while awaiting deportation. The update comes amid growing tensions between the two countries, with United States President Donald Trump having imposed various tariffs on Canada. In the months since the tariff threats began, Canadian travel south of the border has plunged. In BC, for example, slightly more than 3,300 vehicles crossed at the Peace Arch on both March 17th and March 24th, compared to more than 10,000 on the same days in 2024. Trips by religious and school groups have also been axed in the wake of charges. Wake of changes. A gathering at the North America Interfaith Network to be held in Nova Scotia has been postponed indefinitely due to the border concerns, while a Moncton High School band trip to New York City was also canceled, with the school district saying the political climate raised concerns. On Friday's update also comes as the U.S. government, starting April 11th, will require that Canadians and other foreign nationals visiting periods longer than 30 days to register or face potential penalties, fines, or even misdemeanor prosecution. This requirement primarily applies to those entering the United States at a land border entry, and as those flying in by air often already receive known as an I-94 admission form. So things are not looking good when it comes to crossing into the border, and things are not looking good in the tourism industry. And a lot of this has to do with the fact that with these ICE measures, with the fact that they're so laxed on this particular agency that they're just allowing to go after, break things, don't ask questions, fire first, ask questions later, start deporting people that they suspect of being linked to MS-13, being linked to criminal activity, being linked to gangs, being linked to anything, starting to nab and deport these people to El Salvador has put a lot of people in danger. We're seeing a lot more stories of innocent people that are being rounded up, falsely accused of being gang members when they're not gang members, and it's been in jurisdiction, but they don't want to go through jurisdiction because they believe that there's too much time at hand and it's costly, and they just want to go. They want to go at it. And considering the fact that El Salvador, this new Guantanamo Bay sanctuary that they put together, as they claim, is getting paid for this. They're getting paid, I think it's like $20,000 per convict to keep these people in. So El Salvador is complying with this because they're getting kickbacks to it. ICE is okay with it because they're getting kickbacks. It's all about a quota. And when you have to deal with a quota and you're not following the rules and regulations of what your intended are, that's a dangerous mix. And that's why ICE needs to be held contempt to their actions when they deport people for their free speech, when they deport people who are falsely accused of being criminals or gang members without a serious, without prosecution or background checks. So much has just been abused of this situation to the point that they're detaining people, tourists in America. We showed you the article about the British tourist who was backpacking across the prairies there, across the Rocky Mountains, that was detained by ICE officials because she was a tourist. Or the Canadian woman from Vancouver who was detained as she was getting certified for her visa. She was trying to sell a product in America in California. She went down to the southern border to comply with the ICE officials and border security to go through reinstating her business visa or work visa. And going through that process, she was detained, even though she was never convicted of any crime. She would have went through anyway, but they detained her anyway. Why? Because of quota. They're making money off this. They're making money off this, and the Trump administration is just allowing this to happen. They're letting it roam free. They're doing it whatever they want. No checks, no balances. I thought Doge would be maybe looking at this, but no. They're just allowing it to happen. There's more. Well, that rule will more apply to Canadians, saying that the U.S. for a longer time period, including more than 1 million snowbirds, the federal government is still cautioning people to know the various rules before traveling. Ottawa is also stressing people need to ensure they properly show legal status if requested at any time while south of the border. Authorities may request proof of legal status in the U.S. at any time, the advisory says. Be prepared to show evidence of your legal presence in the United States. So, like I said, it's a very, very compelling time with the tariffs, and now obviously with this, that people are just not going to go to the United States. And you're already seeing the effects of tourism declining in the United States, and especially for Canadians and a lot of retirees that go south for the winter. That's going to take a huge toll. Because you think that retirees are going to be okay that if they don't show proof or evidence that they're going to be locked away, detained, just for vacationing in Florida or Arkansas or whatever they're going to? You think they're going to be okay with that if they just get falsely detained because they're a tourist? So it's going to cause a lot of mayhem. So here's CTV News even saying this. Canadians should expect scrutiny at the U.S. border crossings, feds warn. Gothamist says a tourist slum has slammed the U.S. travel industry amid a torrent of controversial tariffs, the high-end profile detentions of several European and Canadian tourists, and the political fallout from President Donald Trump's calls to annex Canada. So this is doing a lot of damage than Trump realized. This is doing a lot of damage, concerning the fact that tourism is declining. People are just refusing to even think about going to the United States or travel because they don't want to be slumped up in this catastrophe. They don't want to be detained by ICE. They don't want to be falsely accused. They don't want to have to go through these legal hurdles that are keeping added on because ICE is just allowed to roam free, break shit, and just do whatever they want and have no checks and balances at hand. But they're purposely doing that because they have a quota. They're getting paid to lock up as many convicts into El Salvador, into this concentration camp, the new Guantanamo Bay, and El Salvador is getting $20,000 a head. So all the people involved in it are in this for the money, are in this for the quota, but not really in for the security aspect. Because in order to be secure and focus on the true criminals, you would have to do checks and balances. You would have to actually find criminal prosecution measures to actually deport people. So this is what I mean. For example, this is from The Guardian. And this is an article that says, he is not a gang member. Outrage as U.S. deports makeup artists to El Salvador prison for crown tattoos. Andre Jose Hernandez Romero sent to an El Salvadorian prison after claiming crown tattoos proved he was a gang member. So because this guy had tattoos, even though he's a hairstylist, let's see what this says. For as long as anyone can remember, Andre Jose Hernandez Romero was enraveled by the annual Three Kings Day celebrations, which is his Venezuelan hometown, is famed, joining thousands of fellow Christians on the street of Chapo to remember how the trio of wise men visited baby Jesus bearing gold, frankincense, and myrrh. At age 7, Andre became a mini king, and members of his town's youth drama group, Los Minis Reyes, were known. Later in life, he tattooed two crowns on his wrists to memorialize those carnival-like epithy commemorations and his Catholic roots. Most capucheros get crown tattoos, often adding the name of their father or mother. We have lots of these people, these tattoos. It's a tradition that began in 1917. Then Miguel Shanko, the president of Chapo's Three Kings Day Foundation. Hernandez was gay, told agents he was fleeing persecution stemming from his sexual orientation and political views. Just weeks earlier, Venezuela's authoritarian leader, Nicolas Maduro, had unleashed a ferocious crackdown after being accused of stealing the presidential election to extend his 12-year rule. But Hernandez's tattoos were deemed proof he was a member of Venezuela's most notorious gang, the Tren de Agua, and are a security threat to the United States. But that's not true. That's not true. The tattoos he just said there were part of a tradition that's been going around since 1917. It's also kind of interesting to note that you think the United States would have more sympathy after trying to crack down on socialist leaders and rescue people from communism, and it's the ultimate threat to humanity, and have a little more sympathy for this guy. But no, a guy from Venezuela coming to the United States to seek asylum and going through the legal channels, which he went through and is okayed for, is being sent to El Salvador because he has tattoos. Detaining Hernandez sports sick tattoos, crowns that are consistent with those of Tren de Agra member, an agent of California's Ate Mesa Detention Center claimed, according to court documents published this week. Those 16-word appeals to have sealed the fate of the young Venezuelan Salas, who friends, family, and lawyers say they have never committed a crime. On March 15th, after more than 6 months in custody in the U.S., Hernandez was one of the scores of Venezuelans flown from Texas to a maximum security prison in El Salvador as part of Donald Trump's mass deportation campaign. To the horrors of his relatives, some detainees were parroted before the cameras and filmed being manhandled by guards and having their heads shaved before being hurtled into the cells. Let my son go. Review his case file. He is not a gang member. Hernandez's mother, Alexis Dolores Romero de Hernandez, pleaded as she came to terms with the son's disappearance into the notorious Central American terrorist confinement center known by the Spanish acronym CICOT. Everyone has these crowns, many people, but that doesn't mean they're involved in the Tren de Agua. He has never had problems with the law, said Hernandez, 65, who has not heard from her son since he called on the eve of his transfer to let her know incorrectly that he was being deported to Venezuela. So that's also another thing to this, is that ICE officials, I thought the whole point of deporting people was to deport them back to their homeland. So if you have someone from Venezuela and they happen to convict a crime in America, they'd be sent back to Venezuela, and then Venezuela would have to deal with that criminal. Or they sent back to China, or sent back to Korea, wherever they came from. But turns out, as we get more and more of these stories, they're just randomly rallying up people, shoving them into containment centers, and then throwing them to El Salvador. So it's not even really a deportation. It's just sending as many criminals as possible to a boot camp, to this concentration camp. It's just sending as many people as possible to the new Guantanamo Bay that they can now use and exploit people. And I'm sure that's going to be good for the private prison industry. I'm sure that's going to be good for, Macy's. They can now abuse these people to make cheap clothing. Who knows? But I thought the whole point of deporting someone was deporting them back to where they came from. Not just taking people and throwing them into whatever random country. Growing indignation over Hernandez's play and that of other apparently incorrect Venezuelans deported to El Salvador on the basis of their tattoos is spreading to unexpected places. It's horrific, Joe Rogan, a Trump-endorsing podcaster, said on his latest show. Rogan supported Trump's offensive against Venezuelan criminals the president claimed terrorists in the United States. But let's not let innocent gay hairdressers get lumped in with the gangs, he said, asking how long before that guy can get out. Can we figure out how to get them out? Is there any plan in place to alert the authorities that may have made a horrible mistake and correct it? Well, Joe, unfortunately, it's not going to happen. They have no intention of doing this. Just like they have no intention of having the proper checks and balances to make sure they're deporting criminals. They have no intention of this. Just like what they're doing with Mukali, they're going to do it to everybody. They're going to do it to anybody as soon as possible. And this is what's happening. And this is why it's such a menace right now, in the fact that they're just letting them roam free so quickly and just rounding up people left, right, and center, not even going through proper channels and hurdles to make sure and prove that they're going after the criminals. They're just going after anybody with a pulse that may look suspiciously like a criminal but aren't, for quota. Because ICE officials, just like police officers, when they give out tickets, they have to pledge a certain amount of convicts. Otherwise, ICE officials are going to look bad in front of Donald Trump. And Donald Trump's going to look at them and say, how come you're not locking up more criminals? How come you're not going after more? I need you to deport more people. I need to look good. I made this promise to America. So it's an absolute crazy, insane thing. But the Trump administration has shown no sign of reconsidering its decision to send so many Venezuelans to El Salvador on the basis of such a flimsy evidence. On Monday, Trump thanked Buckley for receiving another group of alleged Latin American criminals and giving them such a wonderful place to live. Oh, man. So it's just an absolute mess. It's such an absolute mess that now the media is starting to get notice about this. Now there's finally getting attention because it's not just this one gay hairdresser. They're going after fathers of autistic children. They're going after tourists. They're going after anybody. And when you have this lack of checks and balances, when you have this lack of accountability, there's no stopping ICE to go further and further and change the goalposts to not only go after people that look like gang members, but just go after regular people, even Americans. What's going to stop ICE from going after an American citizen if they believe that they're convicted of criminal offenses, or they can just slap them with the label of terrorism and deport them anyway? Just like how the Patriot Act was done. The Patriot Act, which they said was only going to go after the criminals, it was going to go after terrorists. Guess what? They changed the goalposts. They lied to you and lied to you and lied to you. And now they're surveilling everybody. And what's going to stop ICE from doing the exact same thing? So here is Fox News on their panel show, The Five, even mentioning about this. And here's this is from Aaron Rupaw reporting on this. And one of the people on the panel is actually going to speak up about this. And watch how the rest of Fox News, because they're in their little bubble, because they're in a little panel show, just don't seem to get the picture of this. They don't seem to get the picture of this. Watch.
I don't trust the El Salvadorian government to be making sure that they're not torturing people, that they're vetting them properly. They need to be vetted on this side.
Why do the Democrats always say this could happen?
It did happen. It didn't.
So, the lady there was mentioning about how can we trust a foreign government to make sure they're acting in accordance, to not torture these people, to not do this. By the way, that's the reason why Guantanamo Bay is in Cuba and not in the United States. Because if it was in the United States, we had to abide to constitutional law, meaning that people would have a fair trial, They would not be tortured. We would not be waterboarding them. We would not be using you'd be not using tactics to go against humanitarian rights. That's why Guantanamo Bay is in the place that it's in right now, not in the United States. And that's why they want to ship people to El Salvador, to a foreign country that they're also not opposed to constitutional law. So that is a bit worrisome. That is a bit worrisome, to make sure that, we are doing this by the book. We're doing this by law. We're following guidelines. We're doing the promises that Donald Trump was committed to, only going after the criminals. But it turns out that was never the case. Turns out it was never the case. Once again, promises made, promises failed. Unless it's Israel. And here you have, let's play this again, because Judge Jeanine Pirro.
I don't trust the El Salvadorian government to be making sure that they're not torturing people, that they're vetting them properly. They need to be vetted on this side.
Why do the Democrats always say this could happen?
It did happen.
So, Weinbach's Chardonnay, loose lips idiot, Judge Jeanine Pirro. Just making a complete ass of herself. Why would Democrats just believe these? Why would they assume that we're doing this? I don't know, because it's happening? Because it's in the news? That's why we're talking about it, dipshits? It's not coming. It's not going to happen. It's already happening. That's why it's in conversation. That's why you're talking about this on a panel show. Oh my God. Friggin' Jeanine Pirro. She makes Ann Coulter like a saint. That's how I feel about Jeanine Pirro. But she must be like the Joy Behar of this panel show. Every panel show, it symbolizes the View. You have your Whoopi, you have your Joy. She's really like the Joy Behar character. Yes. Why do you keep bringing up this stuff? Why do you keep bringing up the past? Like Joy Behar when it was Bernie Sanders. Why do you keep bringing up the Iraq War? That was in the past. Just forget it. Forget it. Forget all the people that died and sacrificed and millions and trillions of dollars that were wasted in that warfare. Forget about that. Forget about it. Now here's Jeanine Pirro using the same mannerisms.
I don't trust the El Salvadorian government to be making sure that they're not torturing people, that they're vetting them properly. They need to be vetted on this side.
Why do the Democrats always say this could happen?
It did happen. It didn't happen.
Torturing them?
Did you watch the video?
Torturing?
Yeah. Did you read the Time magazine?
Heads.
Time magazine was there when the gay barber from Venezuela who had a crown tattoo that said "Mom" was being processed coming into the El Salvadorian. Oh, am I boring you again? I'm sorry.
No, but you've been talking.
So now here comes Jesse Waters showing the ignorance of these people. Because again, they do not understand that what we have right now is a violation. These are supposed to be law and order people. These are supposed to be the checks and balances. If it was a Democrat doing this, then we go, oh my God, how dare you? This is an American citizen. Oh my God, how crazy this is. But because it's Trump doing this, and because they believe that, oh, well, ICE is just, getting rid of the criminals and it's okay to me, I don't have to worry about checks and balances. I don't have to accuse ICE of anything. I don't have to look at, investigate, and actually do journalism to figure out if ICE is complying to constitutional law and not violating their terms to throw people into El Salvadorian prison that shouldn't be in prison. I don't have to look into that. And here's Jesse Waters just in that.
About this gay barber from El Salvador with some stupid tattoo for weeks.
Yeah.
Weeks, Jessica.
Come on.
It's just a gay barber.
He's not into you.
He's an innocent.
It's just a gay barber. It's just a guy that, why do you keep bringing this up? Why do you keep bringing this up? Like, all you do is talk about people that are detained in a foreign prison. They're being convicted of a crime that they never committed, that they're breaching the law. They're breaching the justice system. Oh, why? Why do you keep bringing that? Like, it's starting to sound like a whiny Karen at this point. Why do you keep bringing this up? I don't know, because it's in the news, you dumbass. You do realize you host a news panel show. You talk about controversial subjects. Like, I don't know, having a gay hairdresser being detained in El Salvadorian prison when he's from Venezuela and not convicted of anything. Oh, this guy had tattoos. Is that an automatic sentencing? You just round up anybody with a tattoo? Like, how stupid these people can be. How stupid these people can be. On purpose. On purpose.
Guy who got swept up in a deportation, and hopefully we get it figured out and straightened out. But a lot of people in this country, Jessica, get arrested for things that they didn't do, get falsely accused, falsely convicted.
I'm also against racial.
Yeah, and you know what you do? You go after and you hold account to the people that were falsely accusing them, which is what that woman was attempting to do, at least attempting to do. But all you idiots, you bumbling knuckleheads, didn't want to do that. Oh, why you keep... Oh, everybody gets falsely accused of something. Oh, they go into prison all the time. All these just random idiots just go into prison all the time. They get falsely accused. Do all people get falsely accused of being a illegal alien criminal and being convicted to another country's prison system? Do they have their rights taken away? Do they get disbarred from their family? Do they get sent to El Salvador to a concentration camp? Do innocent people always do that? Yeah, well, it's happening right now, and you're not even looking into it. You barely mention a word about it. And anyone brings that, you keep bringing it up. Like, it's so stupid. It's so ignorant. It's so stupid. These people have no idea what's going on in front of them, and they're intentionally dumb on purpose because it's anything for Trump, and anything that goes against it is automatically either, anti-Trump or Democrat or liberal or communist or whatever buzzword they want to say. Oh, all you Democrats keep bringing up checks and balances. Why can't you just let ICE just round up whatever the hell they want, okay? It's literally amazing coming from the law and order spectrum of politics. Trump was supposed to be the law and order candidate. Trump was supposed to be checks and balances. I thought, this could be something that Doge could even look into. Hey, let's make sure that the government is actually efficient in cracking down on criminals and not going and randomly taking random citizens that just have tattoos and throwing them into El Salvadorian prison. Let's actually make sure that they have a criminal conviction. Let's make sure we actually go after the criminals and protect the innocents. But no, we just don't care about that either. So at that point, what's the point of anything? What's the point of anything? And if you're just going to be that ignorant to the subject matter, again, what's going to stop ICE from just changing that goalpost even further and just going after anybody? Going after you and me. Going after anybody. Because if they're going after gay hairdressers with tattoos, they're going after British tourists, if they're going after Canadian workers, they'll go after anybody. They will go after anybody, even legal American citizens, if they so choose to be.